Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. I was looking through the 5.0 deck dumps from the leagues and this one jumped out at me as something that I wanted to put on the channel. It's running not one but two of the new cards from Edge of Eternities. We've got Frenzied Baloth, which I think is very good. So this is green for a 3-2, trample haste, can't be countered, creature spells you control can't be countered, combat damage can't be prevented. Take that, the One Ring. This card is pretty darn good in my opinion, and can definitely breathe a bit of life into these sort of Green Sun Zenith style decks. The other card is Baloth Prime. This is not one I really had on my radar because what are we doing casting 4 mana spells in Legacy that don't impact the board immediately? However, our deck is trying to leverage this in an interesting way because we are going to be ramping using Nic style strategies. We have Veteran Explorer to go and ramp ourselves. Anyway, back to Baloth Prime. It's a 4 mana 10/10 but it enters tapped with 6 stun counters on it. That is a lot. We have some abilities on this card though. So we have whenever you sacrifice a land, create a tapped 4/4 beast creature token and then untap Baloth Prime. And we can also pay 4 and sacrifice a land to gain 2 life, which we're almost certainly not going to be able to do very often, but sometimes I guess it will come up. But generally speaking, this is just going to be creating a bunch of 4/4s, doing a job quite similar to Titania here. So if you've seen Titania in the past, it's sort of in these sort of fringe Nic fit style shells. So whenever a land we control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, we get a 5/3 elemental. And we're pairing this with Greater Gargadon as a way of sacrificing a bunch of lands, allowing us to get our, Baloth triggers and stuff like that. As well as just, having fetch lands which can go to the graveyard anyway. We've got ourselves Sylvan Safekeeper and Veteran Explorer, which we're trying to find using things like Breakout. So Breakout doesn't have many targets it hits here. So Breakout is basically hitting our Veteran Explorer, Sylvan Safekeeper, and Frenzied Baloth. And that's it. Kind of worried if this has enough targets, but we'll see. We'll play it as it lies. We've got ourselves a Chalice of the Void. We're not really playing this until turn 2, looking at our mana base here. We also don't have a Dried Arbor because we didn't... I've seen the person who built this deck didn't want a Dried Arbor to hit with the Breakout. I guess you choose still, so maybe it's not so bad. I don't know. It feels like there should be a Dried Arbor in here, but we don't have one. We've got 4 Endurance, which allows us to play the game against all these really fast graveyard decks. We have Vivien, Monster's Advocate. This allows us to cast creature spells from the top of our library. It allows us to make beasts that have various useful keywords. And then we can also have it so when we cast a creature spell this turn, the next creature spell, we search our library for a creature with less than mana value and put it onto the battlefield. So if our opponent wants to counterspell our creature, they have to do it with this trigger on the stack from the -2. And there is also a Terror of the Peaks in here. This is just going to make all of our Baloths that are coming in just deal huge amounts of damage because we just get to ping when our creatures enter battlefield. And if our opponent wants to target our creatures with a removal, that's going to cost them a little bit of life as well. There is a Flare of Cultivation to go with our Veteran Explorer. And yeah, we're just trying to ramp stuff. I think the other thing that's probably worth interesting mention here is the Lazotep Quarry. So this is something I've played in low to the ground energy style shells. Basically, we can buy back a creature from our graveyard and it becomes a 4/4. And we just pay 2 and X, where X is the mana value of the creature. So we just get like a 4/4 Safekeeper or, a 4/4 Baloth for relatively cheap. But it also allows us to sacrifice creatures. This is another sacrifice outlet for our Veteran Explorer, which I quite like. Sideboard wise, we got some Faerie Macabres, a bit more graveyard hate. We've got ourselves a Collector Ouphe to tutor for the artifact decks. We've got some Veil of Summers to push through the counterspell decks. Some Void Mirrors for the Mystic Forge style decks. Disruptor Flutes as a generic piece of hate that can help against a whole bunch of matchups like Doomsday or just whatever we need to name with this. So yeah, that's the deck. I have no idea how this is going to work out. Nic Fit is kind of a weird one. There's a lot of cool innovations going on here and new cards that we want to see in action. So like, subscribe, and let's just get stuck in with these red-green beats. If you've been watching my content and thinking, I'd like to play some Legacy too, then check out 3for1 Trading, one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. They have weekly offers and upload new cards every Wednesday. And it's not just Legacy stuff they sell. They have a beautiful selection of vintage and old school cards too. Support from sponsors like 3for1 Trading make it possible for me to put out videos and help keep Legacy alive, so why not give them some love? Click their link in the description below and use my code COW3 to enjoy free worldwide shipping on your first order over €500. Alright, sorry about this, but I didn't press record on my first round. However, it was only against Ouphe spells and didn't last very long. I lost 2-1. A quick little recap of the games. They killed me on turn 1 and nothing happened because they were on the play. And then game 2, they lost to my Collector Ouphe, which shut them off from being able to do anything. They kept a little bit of slow hand. And then game 3, we sort of traded back and forth a little bit, but eventually they got enough mana to use their Charbelcher and kill me. So we lost that one 2-1. On to round 2. Okay, what does our hand do here? I'll tell you what it doesn't do, and that is cast spells. I'm going to have to mulligan this one. Okay. It does stuff, doesn't it? This is a turn 2. I guess the Baloth Primes, one of those needs to go. So we've got turn 1, Gargadon. Turn 2, Explorer, Sacrifice, make Breakout happen. We getting Thoughtseize? No, it's just going to be a Tamiyo. That's probably better than all the things we're doing, to be honest. But we'll see what we can do. Frenzied Baloth. Let's suspend a Gargadon. Right, they're accruing a clue. We're not sure if our opponent's on Blueback Reanimator or a different deck. Could be Doomsday. Alright, they're flipping the Tamiyo. We do get to attack with this Breakout next turn. Alternatively, we can attack with a Frenzied Baloth and get guaranteed damage in that doesn't care about counter magic. That does rely on our Veteran Explorer resolving, but we'll worry about that when it gets to our turn. This Baloth Prime could be pretty gross with the Gargadon though. A Thoughtseize. So they could take the Veteran Explorer and that kind of collapses our House of Cards a little bit. We could still try for a Breakout, but that's going to run into a Daze and Forces and all that sort of jazz. The Veteran Explorer is definitely the take, I think, here. They could take our Baloth Prime and reanimate it themselves, and then all their fetch lands give them 4/4s. Well, they took the Baloth rather than our Explorer. Obviously, we don't know what's in our opponent's hand, so I'm just saying what I think is the thing I would most hate to see go. But we don't know what answers our opponent has available. Right, the Gargadon ticks down. Boseiju. Let's play this Veteran Explorer. Sacrifice this Veteran Explorer. We just get 2 forests here, I think. No, if we get forest... No, we just get 2 forests. So our opponent's going to get 1 of each basic here. And it's time to break out. This at least plays around a Daze. I'm going to reveal a creature card from among them, put it into my hand. I guess we just take a Baloth Prime here and just keep shoving Baloth Primes until our opponent dies. I'd like to find a land so we're not shoving them into Dazes, but we don't have a lot of time before this Tamiyo pops off. So, yeah, the 1-mana Planeswalker is quite the threat, isn't it? So, next turn we're probably looking at... I think it's just cast Baloth Prime. But if we don't have a land, maybe we have to break out instead. Brainstorm from our opponent, digging away over there. They could minus a Tamiyo and get a Thoughtseize back. I'd be very grateful if they were to do that. Because the thing I'm worried about is this Tamiyo ultimating. Alright, Polluted Delta, cracking away. We've got a Ponder over there. Alright, they're just going upstairs with the Tamiyo. I think we're going to see a Murktide. Sure. We have problems. Gargadon ticks down. And Endurance. Not really the one I want here. So we play the Baloth Prime into a Daze and we make 4, 8, 12, 16 power if it resolves. But the Breakout's not going to do anything. I think we just have to shove the Baloth and lose to Daze. It's a Daze. Okay. We have 1 more turn to give that a go. Before... Actually, is that even true? The Tamiyo is going to be ultimating next turn, because we're in our opponent's turn now. So we're going to need to get this Gargadon in with haste to kill the Tamiyo. Unless we think we can just have enough power to beat half of our opponent's deck in 1 turn. Plus in the Tamiyo. Are they coming in with a Murktide or are they just protecting the Queen as best possible? Alright, the Murktide is coming in. It's decision time. We can try and chip 1 thing off of this, but that's not going to really matter, is it? I think we just have to play the Baloth Prime again and die to counter magic. Yeah, okay, we're not getting anywhere there. So we play that, we sacrifice 4 lands, we sacrifice 2 guys. This comes in with haste and kills the Tamiyo. That was a plan that we had available. Did not turn out that way, though. I believe our opponent is playing Reanimator, so I'm going to bring in these 4 Faerie Macabres. It's just a thing we have to do, even though it might not make any difference here. The Veil of Summers, I don't think we're bringing them in. I think we just want to have these. Although Veil of Summers stops against Thoughtseize, but so does Chalice. But we don't have that many 1-drops. Let's try the Veils over Chalices. See how that feels. And then we need to make 3 more cuts if we want these. Endurance is fine. Baloth Prime, and we don't want to Terror the Peaks for them to reanimate that either. Just shave on some of the top end. We can't tutor for the Terror of the Peaks either because Green Sun Zenith doesn't find it. This is just something that gets found when our Greater Gargadon comes in. The Vivien can tutor for it. That's about it. Maybe we like a Baloth Prime over a Titania. It costs 4 mana, so it's slightly more doable. Sure. We begin with your friend and mine, Greater Gargadon. I will get a Taiga this one because we might want to cast a... whatever the 2-mana Baloth is called. I can't remember what it's called now. Frenzied Baloth, maybe? That one. That one requires green, so if we get the Taiga, we can cast that. If they wasteland us, we just sacrifice it to the Gargadon, and that ticks down a little bit. So it doesn't feel like we've lost as much. Bloodstained Mire and a pass from our opponent. Okay, let's go and get a forest here and fire in with a Green Sun for 1. We don't sacrifice this immediately because we're not really using the mana just yet. Force of Will on our Green Sun. Not bad. I'll take that little exchange. A Ponder. Sure. We do have the Endurance if they are going for a reanimation line. A Wasteland. Okay. Trying to keep our mana down. But guess who's got another Green Sun Zenith? It's me. Okay, this is just going to be a forest. We don't need red right now. Right, to have a Daze this time around. They did not. Veteran Explorer, here we go. Oh, interesting. Our opponent is a little bit mana screwed. A Faerie Macabre. They didn't have a Daze last turn though. I don't think we are... Yeah, I don't think we're blocking. I don't think we're attacking with anything other than this Veteran Explorer. So we might as well get damage in and then we'll sack it to the Gargadon. So this will sacrifice, get our Veteran Explorer in the bin. This is going to help out our opponent's mana production. But hopefully we just make this Baloth Prime and then they have a really horrible time with that. Play the big boy. We can play it around Daze, but if they don't have Daze, then we get to crack this and make another guy. We can make a lot of power here. I don't think we're doing this Gargadon action right now. Just get this forest. And Entomb, you say. Well, we've got that covered. What is this? Sephiroth. Oh, it's a Traxxas. Okay. Our opponent is very dead on the next turn. Let's just Faerie Macabre away those things. If they don't play an Engine Explosives, we're just going to make a load of beasts. We came here to do the thing, so here we are. Maybe I've been thinking about this deck wrong and it's actually like a Baloth Prime combo deck. There's going to be a lot of power here. Sideboard-wise, I think we're just staying the same as we are. We've got Graveyard Hate. We don't have any green mana, so I don't think we can keep this one. We've got Graveyard Hate and green mana. Spoiled for choice here. I think we're probably going to get rid of one of these Boseijus. And at some point we'll draw some more land, I'm sure. No Tamiyo. Excellent. That's the thing I'm most scared of from our opponent's deck right now. Let's go and play a Veteran Explorer. Is this worth a Daze to you? No. They probably can't exile this. They can only kill it. So they could Fatal Push this now and just have more mana for their turn. Is that what's going to happen? Feels like it. Oh no, we're entombing. Excellent. Big fan of them entombing into our Faerie Macabre. It's the Atraxa again. Get rid of the Entomb because that's the thing that can pump the Murktide. Okay, we managed to dodge that. Excellent. Good old 2-for-1 there. And then they're pondering. I would like to be able to break out. But we might not have that luxury afforded to us. Oh, turns out we do. Let's go and cast this. I'll put Baloth Prime in my hand, I guess. We'll get there at some point, I'm sure. A Brainstorm. So we have the endurance to deal with a graveyard line. We got that going for us at least. Okay, we're pondering again. That means we're not getting reanimated on this turn, at least. Shuffled off that ponder. Also good news for us. A Green Sun's Zenith. Do we have a thing that sacrifices this? Let's have a look. We don't, do we? But we could go and get, like, Junior, little Frenzied Baloth, maybe. Yeah, I'm down to get little Junior here. In we come. So now our endurance is uncounterable, so we don't have to worry about the days on it. And if they burn the days on that Green Sun, then our endurance would have been less likely to get hit by days as well. Now they can obviously just fatal push our guy. It's a push. Okay. So he only gets cracked for 1 damage. A Gargadon, and we go absolutely wild. A Murktide Regent, sure. That's big. That is big. Veil of Summer. Do I want my opponent to have more lands? Do I want to have more lands? I do want to have more lands. Let's attack with this Veteran Explorer. They'll just take the 1. Alright, Big Daddy Baloth, it's your time to shine. They haven't been dazing our spells. Alright, we're in with the Baloth. It doesn't do anything until we can sacrifice lands. Where is my Greater Gargadon? We can chump block for a turn with an Endurance. Engineered Explosives on 0. This is going to deal with all of our little tokens when the time comes. So we can pay mana to sacrifice lands. That's 4 mana to gain 2 life and sacrifice the lands into an Explosives. That feels bad. An Endurance. Okay, I guess our plan is to keep popping Endurances in front of this Murktide. We've got a Veil of Summer that might be able to do something here. Please surveil an Archon of Cruelty into a graveyard, please. An Entomb. Okay. How much difference is there between 8 and 9? Quite a bit of difference, actually. Just working out if we're playing the Endurance and wiping their graveyard or not. Because if we make this a 9, it means a Brazen Borrower plus a Murktide Regent hit is lethal. So I think we are doing our own graveyard instead. It can shrink any Goyfs they may have, and those are fine cards to have in our deck. Right, let's get Chump Block going. If we can tread water long enough. Frenzied Baloth. Is that important here? I don't think it is. I think Endurance plus Veil of Summer is better. Right, I think we go for this again. We should have left up a forest and not this Boseiju. In case they have a wasteland. They're going to hard cast a Force of Will on us. They are indeed. Is the last card in your hand a Daze? I hope not. Okay. Put these back into our deck. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're 1 damage shy of killing our opponent next turn. Interesting. I think we will just block. This is 2 turn clock anyway, so just make sure our life total is healthy. A Boseiju. Whenever you sacrifice a land. Does it count as sacrificing with the legendary rule? I think it does. I guess we'll find out. Baloth. And another Baloth. Back for a bunch. So we can also use this Boseiju to blow up the Engineered Explosives. We're going to get there with our little guys. A Tamiyo. Okay. That's a blocker, but doesn't stop us here. They probably don't block attack with the Murktide Regent. But if they don't attack with the Murktide Regent, we're buying more turns for our Baloth Prime to come and do the work. A Boseiju, you say? Let's blow this up. If we attack the Veteran Explorer, they block with the Tamiyo. We can force through 3 points of damage right now. I don't think we need to do that. I believe that if we play this Boseiju, it will give us a Baloth. Nope, it doesn't give us a Baloth. It doesn't count as sacrificing. Interesting. Okay. Good to know. I'm just curious what the wording is, and I can't look up. Well, I could just Google the legend rule. I thought we would get a sacrifice trigger on that one. Oh, that's another Murktide Regent. Is this lethal? It is not lethal. It will put us to 1 if it attacks, though. Faerie Macabre, not the most useful, is it? We sacrifice a land. We come in with a 10-10. We'll get rid of Boseiju. We gain 2 life. That's not really the important part of this exchange. But we untap our guy, but it doesn't untap because we just remove that last stun counter, right? It's not like vanishing where when the last counter goes, it's fine. I think this is going to be like we remove this stun counter, right? Because if it become untapped, remove 1 counter instead, and it has a counter on it. So this isn't going to achieve anything. These creatures don't have haste either. I wonder if we were supposed to make a token, but then they just crack the explosives anyway. But maybe that means that we could possibly have drawn a land to try and untap and attack with this. I don't think it's going to work, is it? Alright, it doesn't matter anyway. We are very dead to these Murktides, and we will go to round number 3. Felt like this was a winnable matchup for sure, though. Okay, what does our hand do here? It has just a Frenzied Baloth. I don't think that's good enough. Is it, though? We have 2 Lazotep Quarries, which kind of is more unless it's getting exiled. We've got Chalices. We can play Chalice on 1. And we can try that twice. It's kind of slow. I think we can do a little bit better than this. Okay. We don't have red mana. Does that mean we put back the Gargadon? Or do we put back the Flare because we don't have anything to go with it yet? I think it's the Flare. And we are up against Mr. Bosh and Roll. What is this? A Tamiyo. Boo. Okay. Let's play out a Forest and pass. Is our opponent playing like Blue-Black Reanimator? Unlikely. Obviously, Bosh makes a lot of content and plays some pretty weird and wonderful stuff. Could be Doomsday. Haven't seen that on his channel for a while. Alright, we are flipping the Tamiyo. This is not something I'm a great lover of for our deck. Tamiyo is popping upstairs. Got another land. I thought so. To be fair, our opponent might also be testing for Eternal Weekend. I know he's planning on going to 2, potentially 3 Eternal Weekends this year. What do they take from this hand? Like, nothing matters that much. Like, we have redundancy with Zenith, so they can't take them both. The Endurance, if they are trying to play through the graveyard, but they don't need to do that when they've got Tamiyo doing its thing anyway. The Gargadon we can't cast, they probably don't want that. So maybe it's the Chalice. We're also seeing the detriment of not having a Dryad Arbor in our list, because we could have played a Zenith on 1 and actually, you know, started getting ahead of Dazes and things like that. Now we're just going to be underneath them for the whole game. They did take one of the Zeniths, interesting. That means this Chalice is probably getting counterspelled. Okay, so this is going to protect our Frenzied Baloth from a removal spell, which means that we can get some points in at the Tamiyo and just keep it at the same level so it's not popping an ultimate. That is the plan here. I think we're just going to die to Tamiyo, as is tradition. Yep, we just got the counterspell for this. I think our deck really struggles to beat Tamiyo on turn 1. I wonder if our opponent is like playing like Bug Beans or something like that. Like, we haven't seen any green mana yet, but that might have just been the draw they had. I know he really likes Bug Beans, and that's probably what he would be testing for Eternal Weekend. This could just be like classic Dimir tempo, though. I'd like to see a little bit more, but this Tamiyo is just going to absolutely whoop us now. Like, we can play this out. It's not going to help us very much. Would our opponent show us any additional cards? Possibly. So they're just going to take a million cards here. Yep. We're not beating this. We're just using a little bit of our clock to see if our opponent shows us any more cards from their deck. Like, if they drop like a Argoth here, that's a good indication that our opponent is on regular tempo. If they put in a Kaito into play, I think the chance of them being Reanimator with the Orcish Bowmaster is a little bit lower. Is it Goyf? It's just a Murktide. So they're not going to show us any more cards now. I just wanted to try and see a little bit more, but our opponent obviously knows that we're fishing for information, so they're not going to show us any more once they have the win condition going. So these Chalices are so bad. I really don't like the Chalices in this deck. Let's have some Veils And then what? A Disruptor Flute to name Kaito is probably reasonable. Maybe we need more of this effect to name like Tamiyo as well. How much of this top end stuff do we need? Now Vivien is pretty good when it starts doing its thing. Maybe we'll trim a Titania and just get a second Disruptor Flute in there. We don't need lots of Disruptor Flutes, but it would be nice to have a thing we can draw that actually answers Tamiyo. The fact that we don't have any Red Blast in here is also a little bit sketch. Okay, here we are. I think we play the Gargadon on 1 because that is something that can get Thoughtseize from our hand. Alternatively, we play the Forest and then we just hold up the Veil. That's kind of interesting. And then next turn we can play Explorer around Days and then suspend the Gargadon. I'm trying to work out if I play this Verdant Catacombs and get... I think we do play the Catacombs instead. So we go for a Veteran Explorer. Actually, no, we want to crack this first. Because we want to have access to suspending this straight away. Let's Veteran Explorer. Let's suspend Gargadon. Suspend is a special action that our opponent doesn't get to interact with. I could just ramp out a load of mana right now. What does that actually do for us? It gives us an Endurance and possibly a Veil of Summer. But it's going to accelerate our opponent. I think we're going to let ourselves be the first one to get a bite of the cherry from the extra mana. A Brainstorm. If we need to, we can sacrifice this Veteran Explorer to get the mana for a Veil of Summer. And that's pretty nice. Because our opponent would have already committed mana to making plays. So we're not going to do the most scary things possible. Just a little Tamiyo. A Frenzied Baloth, you say? I don't hate that one. Let's cast the Baloth. Attack with some friends. Something is happening here. A Fatal Push targeting the Baloth. Sacrifices Veteran Explorer. Our opponent's going to get one of each basic, I suspect. Let's try and Veil this. Getting a force out of it. I guess we sacrifice the poor little Baloth. Play out this Explorer. This gives us instant speed, endurance. That might catch our opponent off guard, and we get to possibly clean up the Tamiyo. Bow boys. Are we pinging my guy? We're not. Okay. Right, let's sacrifice the Explorer. Let's get a couple of forests. Let's get absolutely bodied by Days. Cracking the clue token. Let's tuck their graveyards for Merc type purposes. Let's go to blocks. See if we can take out this Tamiyo. Alright, we got the Tamiyo. They got another one though. How likely am I to just to sack everything to this Gargadon? Maybe we draw the Baloth this turn. That'd be great. The big boy. Not the big boy. Okay, we'll get the Quarry going. We will get back this Baloth. There's lots of cool stuff in our deck, but I don't think it necessarily has the connective tissue that it requires. What if I were to just to sacrifice a bunch of lands? I do love Greater Gargadon. What a guy. This is uncounterable because of the Frenzied Baloth. Alright, let's attack for lots. 16. Maybe I'm going too hard on the Gargadon too early. I think we need to put our opponent on the back foot. I think Bitter Triumph could be happening here. It's a Bowmasters. Okay, that's not so bad. This can chump block the Gargadon. They're still taking 7 though. And they've got some problems to try and unpick here. 1 card in hand. Let's hope it's not a good one. I assume Tamiyo comes in at the very least. Sure. So they have 3 damage they can point at our creatures in combat. Which won't actually clean up anything. But they can crack a clue, dig for some more action. Can Brainstorm, reduce the power of our creatures. That's pretty good. It means they can play a Bowmasters and then block with an Orc army and then kill something without trading. I don't know if we're going after the Tamiyo. I think we have to just go after the face. Engineer Explosives X equals 2. So that kills our Baloth, doesn't it? Okay. But it also kills their Bowmasters. Intriguing. Like, we're attacking. But what are we attacking? So this is going to get cleaned up. I think we just go all at face. I don't think we can afford to mess around with the Tamiyo here. We just need to put enough damage into our opponent that they die. Yep, so blocking the Bowmasters there. They pop the explosives here. It takes out our Baloth and their Bowmasters, but they've already blocked, so they take 3 here. Oh, sorry, they take 2 here. And then we have a decent chunk of damage coming in next turn. I'm not going to play out this Wooded Foothills yet. We'll save it. Our opponent maybe suspects we have like a Bolt or something, or maybe they think a Wasteland is going to be more useful than it is, and maybe can take us off of casting another Frenzied Baloth, but then we can just top deck 1 and play this Wooded Foothills. I think concealing the information is worth it here, because if we draw a land, then we've got nothing anyway. I guess the one way that can maybe backfire is a Lazotep Quarry, but no, we don't have enough mana for that to be good anyway. Right, we've got a Ponder here. Our opponent can buy this back if they need an answer. They shuffled off that Ponder pretty quickly. They're cracking a clue. Got some Surveil land action. Just using every little ounce of selection that they can get their little hands on. Okay, that failed push is very good. That does change things somewhat. Okay. A Veil of Summer isn't the worst, is it? So I think we attack our opponent here. It's going to be the same outcome either way. It's just going to kill the Orc Army token, because this is a lethal threat. Just in case of Spell Pierce, I'm going to play out this Foothills now. So we've got a Veil of Summer to beat a Brazen Borrower. You can Ponder. They shuffle pretty quickly there. Getting through this Tamiyo could be pretty annoying though, if they can block our creature. We've got removal covered. It's just another body that goes underneath it that is going to be irritating. Getting back the Ponder. Okay. So we don't have to worry about Tamiyo ultimating anymore. I think I've only actually played against Bosch once before. We're currently 1-0 in the content creator matchup there. Right, they did not shuffle. A Wasteland. We'll float green mana. A Tamiyo. Yep. We don't have a Surveil land in our deck, which is annoying. Flare of Cultivation. Probably not the one. Under the bus we go. Sure. Goodbye, Tamiyo. And we are treading water again. So they can buy back a Ponder and look again. And we're just hoping that our Veil of Summer gets us where it needs to go. Right, buying back the Ponder. Sure. Casting the Ponder. They did not shuffle. Interesting. What is this? A Brazen Borrower? I'll crack this now in case there's any weird timings. I think we just get the Snake-Eyed Forest here. Let's cast the Veil of Summer. Force of Negation. Yup. Back to our hand. Veteran Explorer, here we go. Flare of Cultivation. We're out of basics. Let's suspend the guy again. Alright, so they got Brazen Borrower and whatever's in their hand. We're on a bit of a clock. We're not ready to sacrifice a bunch of stuff to this, but if we draw the big guy... We didn't draw the big guy. Okay, we'll play the land out. So our opponent's going to flash in the Borrower. We're going to go down to 11. Hopefully they don't have a second Borrower, because that clock is pretty fast then. Where is our big boy? Just get the big, stupid big boy out, and then we'll be okay. Now, they do have hard-cast Force of Will mana over there. I think... we don't have any lands, do we? Whoops. That's annoying. Whoopsie. Oh dear. So they're going to counter this with a Force of Will? Sure. Not having that land in play is potentially going to mess us up, because that could have been something sacked to a Gargadon. I thought we had the ability to go a little deeper. But we already... It's because we already sacked our Taiga, isn't it? And we don't have another one. Okay. We can still just draw the big boy, though. We've still got time to do that. It will play poorly into a daze. But it is what it is. Big old Barragoyf. How big is he? 5'6". So they have lethal. But if we can draw the big boy, and our opponent doesn't have an answer for it straight away, we are okay. Did not draw the big boy. Do we just go and get an endurance here? I think we do. Alright, they had the Force of Will anyway. GG. We put up a fight, but our opponent's deck is significantly better than ours at the end of the day. We didn't get to show off our really cool thing, but our opponent just had the exact right tools at the exact right time, right? So the Gargadon there we could have slipped through, and I also think our main deck configuration leaves a lot to be desired, actually. Alright, let's go to round number 4. No lands, let's mulligan. Okay, keep this. What goes back here? Maybe it's the breakout. I think it's the breakout. Because we have a plan where we go turn 1, suspend Gargadon, turn 2, get the guy. This does mean that we have to start off on a Taiga in case we want to do this, though. Maybe we should just get the mountain and just hope we draw another land. I think that's reasonable here. It means if we get Thought Seized, that sucks for us. But it's if they would get Wastelanded and we got the Taiga, that would be worse for us. Alright, we got a Polluted Delta. Are we going to resolve any of our spells this game? Who knows? Opal. Okay, so we're looking at some kind of 8-cast painter type ballpark. Last Spur Boots. Mox Opal's now on. Emery Lurk with a lock. What are they going to bin off here? Tormod's Crypt and some other stuff. Okay. This looks somewhat similar to a deck that I played on the channel recently. Although they're running Emery rather than the Stompy package. Okay, they've seen a forest in our hand. Sure, you can draw a card off of your bauble. Another Gargadon, not special right now. Do they have a Force of Will for this? Will they use it if they do have it? Because they've got an extra card coming in every turn, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. So we could just go and get a Frenzied Baloth in right now and attack. That gives our opponent more mana for their turn, but I don't think mana is necessarily going to be the break point here. Alright, let's just start going here. Yes, I would like 2 lands. I don't know how many islands our opponent has. It's somewhere between 1 and 4. But next turn we get to really pop off. Counter spells are the main way our opponent's going to be interacting with us. So next turn we can just go Baloth Prime and just get him with a combo. Well, we've got red mana in there. They're probably playing the Pinnacle Emissary guy. That guy seems real good to me. Thought Monitor. Sure. That's not going to really cut it. We're going to be doing lots of things now. Okay, so we can cast this guy. Do I play out the Boseiju as another thing to blow up and make guys with? Yeah, I think we do. Maybe we're supposed to play this first so we can at least play this Gargadon as well. I'm not going to suicide this into the Thought Monitor that then gets picked up every turn by the Emery. I hope they don't have anything that kills all of our massive selection of creatures we're about to put into play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if we draw a land for turn, we can get this attacking as a 10-10 as well. It doesn't have trample though, it's just a big guy. Definitely feels like just having big guys that get chump blocked is annoying. We lost to Bosch because of that as well. So let's sacrifice some lands, I guess. Look, sometimes you gotta be all in, right? A long time ago in Standard, there was a deck called, was it Devastating Summons or something? Where you basically sacrifice your lands and make some big guys, and then you kick them with Goblin Bushwhacker, and that was like the deck. And we're kind of doing some similar vibes here. Would I rather attack with this 9/7? I think so. We could sacrifice this Baloth Prime, but I don't think that's a great use of our... Okay, they're just scooping to all of our beasties. That sounds good to me. So, Void Mirror looks useful. Collector Ouphe looks useful. Chalice actually does look useful here, which is a nice change of pace. Disruptor Flute can name Emery, and it can name Urza Saga. Those are options. But in order to have these, we need to get rid of things. I just don't think these cards are really cutting it for us. The Endurance isn't really that necessary either. This leaves us a little bit light on action. We're just kind of doing this while shutting our opponent down. That's probably still okay. Maybe we can get rid of a Flare of Cultivation and get another Titania back in. I don't think we need the Vivien. Pumping out 3/3s every turn versus our deck that's kind of built to leverage this sort of effect. I think we're going to try it like this. Flare of Cultivation, we can't do the cheap cast mode underneath a Void Mirror, but we're not going to do the cheap cast mode early doors. Later on. Chalice into Void Mirror potentially. We're going to need to find a land for this hand to do anything. Is shutting our opponent's stuff down good enough? It's already a multi-6 here. I think I'm going to mulligan here. Okay, this doesn't seem great, but I think it's okay. I'll bin off one of the Wooded Foothills. We have lands to cast spells. That's kind of a big deal here. And we can leverage having a lot of lands at some point by sacrificing them. So I don't mind having a slightly land-heavy hand. Alright, they're not doing anything over there. Interesting. Flare of Cultivation. We don't get to do anything with that. So these breakouts can dig us into the Collector Ouphes as well. Okay, they've got the Emissary. Good card is good. Okay, they didn't have a big turn with it. That's something to be thankful of. So, what do we do here? I think we go and get a Taiga. I think we Green Sun here. We go and get the Veteran Explorer. We Flare of Cultivation. This gives us lots of mana. So we'll take one of each. This way we can cast this Breakout. So we could have saved that to guarantee that we can find the Collector Ouphe. And then we'll take 2 more forests here. And then we can cast the Breakout or the Void Mirror. What is the stronger play? Maybe it's the Void Mirror. Alright, we're just in with the Void Mirror. So we already kind of had a hate piece. This is going to counterspell all of their zeros. Now, they didn't have that many zeros because they would have played more into the Pinnacle Emissary. Kappa Cannoneer. He big, but we can be bigger. We also have a lot of mana, so we might actually be able to kill this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we will be able to kill that next turn if we want to. We don't have to right now, though. So let's cast a Breakout first, I think. Okay, I'll put this Greater Gargadon into my hand. That's not what we wanted there. So, is this just Green Sun Zenith, or do we just want to kill this and be done with it? We can't kill this right now anyway, can we? Do we just get the Breakout going? I think we're just going to go and get the... actually, we could probably combo our opponent next turn, right? So if we go red for Gargadon, then we can Green Sun Zenith next turn. Yeah, I like that. And then we can just make lethal damage. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Pinnacle Emissary. So this turn could be a bit scary for us. But we do have an answer for this next turn when we pay through the Ward 4 if that's what we need to do. So they're only going to get half of these... half of the artifacts. Thought Monitor's pretty good though. Any zeros, they get a guy which pumps the Kappa Cannoneer. Maybe we're supposed to have killed the Kappa Cannoneer that turn and we can just do everything on the following turn. A second Kappa Cannoneer has hit the building though. That is not good for us. I think we are just dead here. So this is 11, unblockable. If we'd have blown this up, then we might have been okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we blow this up, that takes our entire turn. Then we take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we're dead. So we're not beating... Yeah, we're not beating it anyway. So we should just go and get the big boy. And then we can deploy... We still have a mountain in our deck, don't we? So we can go play the Explorer, exile, sacrifice this. We go and get some land. Get one of each. This can cast a Breakout, which gives us another body. Frenzied Baloth, Sylvan Safekeeper, they all kind of do similar but different things here. I'll take the Baloth here. I'll play this. And if our opponent plays any artifact, we die. Oh, they have an Emery, right? They're just going to play an artifact. What am I doing? We're dead. Because they just get the guy. Okay, that didn't go so well. Too many problems. So we could keep endurances to deal with Emery. I just don't like that. I think just this sort of stuff is better. And being on the play is a huge deal. If we'd have hit their guy, we could have untapped, played the Baloth and the guy, made like lethal damage and probably not be dead to their attacks that turn. I think we just misplayed that one. What about this hand? No. What about this hand? Yes. What are we going to get rid of here? Maybe it's the Disruptor Flute. So we can begin the game with Chalice for 0. We can play the Veteran Explorer. And then we can just kind of dirtle around with some pretty mediocre stuff until something changes. Like, if we get red mana, then we can do some stuff here. So they're still going to get stuff into the Chalice. So when I played a version of this Pinnacle Emissary deck, it felt pretty busted. Like, basically, whenever you had turn 1 Pinnacle Emissary, you won the game. And it didn't matter what hate pieces your opponent really had. So, let's see how this fares for us. I am going to offer up the trade here. Because they need artifacts to make their whole deck work. Yep, I didn't think they'd take it. Because if we take out the number of artifacts they have, they don't get to improvise on the Cap Cannoneer. Right, they can just get in for a little bit. Flare of Cultivation. That's interesting, isn't it? We'll attack with these two. Do we want to potentially ramp our opponent's Cap Cannoneer, though? If we ramp here, we get 1 land plus 2 more. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. So we can go and get the big scary guy. But he doesn't do anything on his own. So he's not actually that scary. Like, we could go and get Collector Ouphe, but they're not really showing stuff that makes us think that Collector Ouphe's a big deal right now. I think we just hold. And then we can... If they play stuff out that makes it look like they're going to get towards Cap Cannoneer, then we will Disruptor Flute on Cap Cannoneer. Otherwise, we can name Emery if they play Emery. This guy. Okay. This is the other option of things that we could have named to make it more difficult. Right, they're attacking in here. I don't think we can realistically stop Cap Cannoneer now. I think I will play this out still. Like, if we name Cap Cannoneer, we make it cost 3 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're about to ramp them anyway. 7, 8, 9. So it's just not going to do very much. So I guess we name Emery here. Or we could name Boots or as a Saga. There's a bunch of things we can name. Don't think it matters though. A Wooded Foothills. Does that change anything? This allows us to get Titania. But does that do anything is the problem. We need Questing Beast in our deck, really. Okay, let's just get the Explorer doing its thing. Yes. So we'll go and get a mountain and a forest here. Our opponent's going to get an island. 2 islands, in fact. Sure. So we'll get 2 forests here. And then we can tutor for the big boy. Or we could wait a turn and tutor for Titania. Which we still have a copy of Titania in our deck, right? Yes, we still have 1 copy in. I think that is better than playing out the Baloth Prime here. Would I trade this for this? Yes, I think I would. Alright, we got the trade-off. That's something at least. Which is just going to be Kappa. Thought Monitor, sure. Collector Ouphe not actually that great against our opponent's deck. They don't have as many like Seat of the Synod style cards. Alright, they're going to keep bashing in with a Delver's worth of damage. So we can get Titania unless we draw a red source. Oh, sorry, not red source, a Gargadon. Doesn't really help here, does it? Alright, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's get Titania. Of course, they have a Force of Will, so that doesn't really work for us either. Okay. I think when the best version of this Pinnacle Emissary deck is worked out, it's going to be real good. I think the fact that it gets to ignore a lot of the artifact hate that people have, it's going to make people have to play Meltdowns again. Which, you know, we could play in our deck, but we don't have any artifact hate. Alright, so they're getting rid of our Chalice. Sure. Getting to play a Braid as well is pretty nice. Thought Monitor. Yeah, they're just ripping through cards here. So instead of doing like patchwork stompy stuff, they've got like Emery Thought Monitor. Whereas we tried it with like a stompy list with the idea of you just want to play a bunch of zeros on turn 1. It feels like you can probably do a lot of different things with Pinnacle Emissary and all of them are going to be good. Because that card is just the freest of value. Right, what are we going to draw this turn? It's a Taiga. I guess we'll play this Baloth just so we have more mana next turn. But we can't attack with it because of Thought Monitor. What was this? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they put us to 1. Do we have to trade this so that we get another draw step? I think we do. Wow, I hate this. Yep, you can just jump. Well, you can just trade here. That's fine. We get 1 damage through. That's not really relevant. But it means that they can only hit us for 5 this turn. So our fetch hand is still on. We can Baloth and activate it once. Right, Thoughtcasters are happening. Alright, they're pinnacling. They're going to play a bunch of stuff here. We can F6 through this turn because our opponent's just going to spam out a bunch of stuff. There's Thought Monitor. I'm going to draw some more cards. Thoughtcasting. Our opponent's only got 25 cards left in their library. They've drawn 20 more cards than us and they're still going. Yikes. Another Pinnacle Emissary. Lava Spur Boots. That is lethal, right? Because they can put it on this guy. Sure, you got me. Alright, that is another loss in the books. We are really struggling to put a win on the board here. We've got 1 round left to avoid the reverse trophy. I don't think our deck is very good, if I'm being honest with you. But let's see if we can actually put a win on the board. Okay, this is a turn 1 breakout. That's something. Maybe our opponent won't just get to win off of our own Veteran Explorers. Which has been certainly the bane of our existence today. Alright. Veteran Explorer. We'll go and get a mountain and a forest here. 2 mountains for our opponent. We could be looking at Painted 7. We might have just ramped them into winning the game on turn 1. Frenzied Baloth is probably... Actually, do we just get the Gargadon here? If we get the Gargadon into our hand, we can't play it next turn and get everything we want, can we? We're 1 mana shy of being able to do the whole thing. Maybe we just Frenzied Baloth here. That doesn't seem great, though. Alright, we'll put the Baloth in. Right, maybe we're supposed to just get the Gargadon and then work on it that way. Laelia the Blade Root Forge. So probably on Mono Red Stompy. A quite aggressive build if it's running Laelia. Haven't seen this for a while. It's pretty good. It grows and grows. City of Traitors. Sure, that's not a card they can cast. But they are growing their friend. Am I going to regret not taking that Gargadon? Maybe. A Veteran Explorer. Okay, I'll attack with the Baloth. I'll play a Veteran Explorer. I don't think we're tutoring for anything. We could tutor for an Endurance and block here, but I don't think that actually gets us where we need to be. We just hold up this Boseiju in case our opponent plays like a Fable or something that we're interested in dealing with. We can block with this, get some more mana. Caves of Chaos Adventure. Okay, so we're on an initiative. Okay. If they attack with Laelia, they fail to find a basic land. Not a fan of this one. The old Evoked Fury killing both of my guys, eh? It's going to make it real tricky to get ourselves the initiative. We got some forests. Human Spirit Guide. Can't cast that. Okay. A Wooded Foothills. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think think it's better than the Titania. Is it better than the Titania? If we get the Titania, we get a 5/3 right now, and we also have our other body, so we can just trade and clean these up. And we have a land card in our graveyard, so I think it is the Titania here. So when this comes in, we get back this Wooded Foothills, and it goes straight into play. We play this. We have two 5/5s now, or 5/3s, sorry. They could put the counters on the Legayc, and that would be a difficult thing for us to actually kill. They could go to Lost Well and Scry. So if they put them on the Caves of Chaos Adventurer, I think that's okay for us. If they put them on the Legayc, then this attacks as a 6-power guy, and that becomes a little bit of a different proposition, doesn't it? Because this is what, 6/6 now, so it attacks as a 7. So I have to put 2 guys underneath it. 3 mana. Sundering Eruption. So I can't block here, and they just kill us, right? So this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They have exactly lethal here. Yep. I don't know if we got that. If we get the Gargadon, if we still win that one. If we have a chance to win that one, I'm not really sure. I don't think any of these things help. I also don't think the Chalice of the Void helps. I'm going to have a Collector Ouphe instead. And then, I don't know, like, how useful are these? It stops Fury. God, it's so bad, though. Disruptor Flute, we can just choose the card that beats us. Maybe that's the best thing we can do with those. I think that's better than Chalice. Alright, I think our sideboard is pretty useless. We haven't had a lot of good luck with it today. Like some Pyroblast or something. What are we doing here? Alright, we can do some stuff here. In case they have a Chalice on 1, we should be playing out the Veteran Explorer on 1. Ramping our opponent is kind of scary. But they only have 2 basics in their deck, I think. So if we let them tutor up a basic with their Caves of Chaos Adventurer, they're not going to get as much value. So next turn we can attack with the Frenzied Baloth and start ticking down with our Greater Gargadon. Our opponent appears to have gone away from their computer or something. I don't know what's happening, but they haven't taken a game action for a while. If they don't come back and we get a win, I guess we avoided the reverse trophy, but that's not how I would like it to go. Right, they're back, and they've got a Volcanic Fissure in play. Terror of the Peaks. Okay. It's an interesting one. So we're going to suspend this Gargadon. And then rather than giving our opponent mana, we're just going to attack for 1. And then what we can do is, at their end step, we can sack this to the Gargadon and then flash in an Endurance. And that's going to be a pretty interesting one. Ancient Tomb. Some sort of guy. A Broadside Bombardiers. You got it. We're going to take some damages here. I suspect so. Right, now we're going to be the ones to make use of the Veteran Explorer first. And then we get 1 of each here. Because we want to be able to cast this Terror of the Peaks at some point. We don't need to target anything here. We should have shuffled in our guy actually because of Pyrogoy thinking about it. But I don't really want this in our deck. If we draw a land, we can play Terror. We did draw a land, so we can play Terror of the Peaks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can't quite get the Gargadon into play, but when it does come into play, we get to dome our opponent for a bunch. I don't think they can kill us this turn, but we might be able to kill them next turn. So we don't hit them for 5. We play the Baloth. That deals them 3. We sack a load of stuff, get the Gargadon. That deals them 9. Yeah, that should be lethal. Can our opponent kill us this turn? It's possible. It's going to take a lot of work, probably from Broadside Bombardier style cards. They can probably Pyrogoyf us. No, they don't have a very good Pyrogoyf here, do they? If they were to play another Broadside Bombardiers, they get them for 4, and they can fling, and then they have to play something else that flings. Alright, I don't think they can kill us if they're just attacking with Bombardier this turn. Are they going to kill our Terror of the Peaks? Is that what they have to do here? That costs them 3 life, and then we just sacrifice it to the Gargadon. It's a Fury. Okay. So it's just all going on the Terror of the Peaks, is it? Alright, we're going to sacrifice our guys. How much damage do we have next turn? 9, 10, 11, 12. Khan the Great Creator. Alright, tap in this What are they going to get with this? Ensnaring Bridge? How are we beating Ensnaring Bridge? How are we beating Ensnaring Bridge? I don't think we do, is the answer to that one. The Terror of the Peaks is the way we beat it. So we can stop this Khan, which I think is something we have to do here. Because they can just lattice lock us. And then we can play out one Frenzied Baloth that can't attack. But if our opponent spends resources on dealing with this, then that's something at least. That's not our face getting bodied. So that our opponent can attack, then fling stuff, attack, fling stuff. Just keep that going. If you have two blockers and they have to fling out our guy to connect, but they're still going to be connecting, they control the amount of cards in their hand. Our deck not having artifact destruction is bizarre to me. Why do we not have that in our deck? Like, just throw some Abrades or Force of Vigors here. Right, this they're going to attack. We can't block because this has Menace. They're throwing a Lotus Petal at our guy. We will sacrifice it to the Gargadon. Not that sacrificing things to the Gargadon is going to help us. We need to, like, Endurance to put this Terror of the Peaks into our deck. And then we need to get it into play. And then we need to Greater Gargadon when we can't even tutor for Terror of the Peaks. Yeah, this isn't going to work for us, is it? Especially when our opponent's going to continue to make relevant plays as well. Fiery Confluence. They're destroying our artifact. See, we could play Fiery Confluence in our deck. That would be good. Flare of Cultivation. Like, I guess. A couple of forests. Play this. I guess we play this guy out. So this turn they just lattice lock us. Alright, the One Ring. Okay. Damage can't be prevented. That is a useful piece of text on that card. Mike's lattice. Okay, so next turn we're getting lattice locked. But they have to leave their Broadside Bombardiers back. Unless they're going to play something else. Cavern of Souls. Naming Ape. Okay. It's the Simian Spirit Guide coming in. So they're probably going to attack and then throw the Spirit Guide. No, they can't attack and throw the Spirit Guide here. Do they just have enough mana to get the lattice in now? They've been exiling Spirit Guides. I don't know what our print does here. I'm sure it's bad for us. Another Khan. Okay, if they put a card in their hand, they have two cards in hand, so the Bombardiers can attack. Liquid Metal Coating. We can't block. I guess we could have, like, sacked a load of stuff to the Gargadon, but then they just throw something at our guy. Lazotep Quarry. Does that do anything here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It does. It does do something here. Bizarrely. Activate only as a sorcery. Okay. We've got a plan here. So we can make our Gargadon. And then shoot them for 9. Okay, they die here because they've tapped the Ancient Tomb. Sacrifice this. Sacrifice this. Cast a Suspended card. Dome our opponent for 9. Okay, we get to play another game. How are we beating Khan? I guess we need more Disruptor Flutes now we've seen the Khan. What do we not... I guess Terror of Peaks is pretty essential. This Flare of Cultivation can just go here. Collector Ouphe is not going to do the most, but it's going to do something. Alright. We've got our plan. Collector Ouphe is okay. Terror of the Peaks is okay. We've got the Boseiju, which can do some work if they're on like a Khan heavy draw. But we might have to just play that out. Alright, they're just making a big guy on turn 1. Big guy on turn 1, pretty strong. They even get to play this Lotus Petal as well. Wowzers trousers, that was good. And what are we going to do? We're going to play a Verdant Catacomb and pass a turn. Our deck does not have enough 1-drops in it to really be viable, I don't think. Like, the hands that we don't have the Veteran Explorer, we're kind of just twiddling our thumbs. The One Ring, are they going to cast it this turn? At least we can do something about that. City of Traitors, sure. So we have a decision to make about what we play to deal with the One Ring. We could play out the Collector Ouphe, but that does die to a bunch of removal. But it also gives us something that can pressure the initiative. So I think this is a Taiga. I think it's the Disruptor Flute here, and we just name the One Ring. But we don't have removal in our deck, really, so we're not dealing with this. We are just not able to do anything here, are we? Cavern of Souls. Maybe they'll play an Ensnaring Bridge. Please play an Ensnaring Bridge. We need that now. So we're almost dead. This kills us next turn. Yeah, this kills us next turn. It's turn 4 Goldfish. Alright, Cavern of Souls. What are we naming here? Is it going to be human? And they play Caves of Chaos Adventurer, because we're not being that either. Pirate. It's a Khan. Okay. We're gonna... Is this going to get Furied? It is. Okay. It's tough out there, isn't it? Chrome Mox. So we can shut these things down, but we are just dead to the Lalia. Chalice, it doesn't matter, we don't have any 1-drops in our deck. Our deck's poorly constructed. Haha, joke's on you. So now, what do? We can chump block for a turn, and then this all snowballs out of control and we die. We can't double spell. There's nothing good we can get off of this. I guess we could get a... If we get the Explorer, the Explorer can jump under the bus here. And that gets us some mana to do some other things with. And maybe that's okay. It's not good, is it? Okay, so let's go for Zenith for 1. Get the Explorer. And then at least we can chump block for a turn. But the lands we get might not do anything if our opponent lattice locks us. They don't have enough mana to lattice lock us, so I think we might be okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pirate. Is this going to be Broadside Bombardiers? That is also lethal. Actually, it's not... Well, they throw the Lalia, don't they, at us? And that's how they kill us. Okay, they're throwing the One Ring. That also works. Yep, we got absolutely annihilated there. So that is the end of the league. We finished 0-5. The reverse trophy, that means the deck is terrible. Well, not always, but, you know... How many games did we win? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we went 4-10 in games. That is bad. If we were like 1-2ing all of these games, I guess we 1-2-4 of them actually, right? 4-2, 4-10. I don't know. I just don't think this deck is particularly good, and there's many reasons for that we're going to go into now. So first things first, this card in Legacy, I do not believe is playable in the current day of Legacy. Giving your opponent those extra resources is such a cost. We're also not living in a world where you're playing Delver decks where they don't have any basics. You know, it's blue-black decks where they have 2 basics so they just go and grab, right? And pretty much every deck that we played against was grabbing multiple lands off of this. And what were we doing with it? Not actually that much. Our curve isn't even that high. I don't know why we're trying to do Veteran Explorer things when our curve is like 4 to 5. We could just... You maybe call it on the 5-drop. So, like, you know, drop a Titania and then just play some, you know, Dorks or whatever would be fine. Or something that ramps us in another way that isn't going to hurt as much as giving our opponent extra land stones. Like, we lost games because of Veteran Explorer, but we had to play it because our deck doesn't function without it. Chalice of the Void is not playable in this deck. We are trying to cast this Chalice of the Void on turn 2. Now, yes, there is the Magical Christmas Land where you play... this and have Flare of Cultivation and then you play the Chalice on 1. Sure, that exists, but most of the time this is just gumming up your hand and not doing anything. I don't think this deck should be a Chalice deck, and, you know, our curve is low, like I said. You know, we're just trying to do, like, Balothy stuff, Green Sun Zenith into this little combo we've got with our Gargadon and our Baloth Prime. This felt like an interesting combo that definitely has some application. I don't think we need to be running this 5-drop either. I think what you need to do is get rid of the Explorers, get rid of the Flare of Cultivation, get rid of the Chalice the Void, play some like generically good stuff up the curve. We need to have some 1-drops to actually do some stuff, really. Yeah, so that would help. Getting rid of the Vivien would also help a great deal. I just don't think we need this. Getting rid of one of the Titanias. So that frees up how many slots? 1, 2, plus 4 is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That gives us 13 slots to play with. Bang in a bunch of mana dorks. That's probably step 1 there. And then we can bang in some like 2 to 3 drops, possibly some removal spells. Like, we were just absolutely cold to so many things, right? If our opponent played a threat, we couldn't interact with it. The only way we interact with it is the combat step. And that's just not good enough for Legacy. You know, we need some lightning bolts, or even main deck of Braid wouldn't be too sketchy in the current meta. I think there's a lot of artifact decks this week because Edge of Eternities came out and it got some new goodies like the Pinnacle Emissary and stuff. As for our sideboard, I think our sideboard is very poor. We don't have any interaction, right? We've got Faerie Macabres. You know, that can mess with graveyards. But how are we interacting with anything on the board? It's just Disruptor Flute, which doesn't always do anything. Give me some Pyroblast. Give me some Lightning Bolts. Give me some Furies. Like, we're running Breakout. Maybe we could run some Furies in here. There's a whole bunch of things we could do that would make this deck better. We could also like lean more into the Gargadon synergy and have something that actually we're okay to sack multiple times that can maybe come back. Although, what would that be? Well, I'd probably see us dipping into another colour, which you could do here, but I don't think is necessary. But yeah, I think this deck is a bit of a mess, and fair play to the person who managed to 5-0 a league with it. But I have no idea how he did that, because I don't think this deck really cuts it in the current Legacy format. Like, I don't even think this would have cut it in the Legacy format of like a few years ago either, to be honest. I just think the fundamental engine of Nic Fit is not really a thing you want to be doing in Legacy anymore. Alright, that's the end of the league. I hope you enjoyed this one, even though we failed somewhat spectacularly. We learned some stuff, and I've got some cool decks I want to try using some of the stuff here that my brain has latched onto. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.